Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News and different platforms. Another influencer was assassinated in Mexico. Several have been assassinated, several have been killed, and several have been disappeared. Not only influencers, but the most aggravated thing about it is journalists. Journalists like myself have been killed, kidnapped, and disappeared. The number it is ludicrous. It is crazy what is happening in our country with freedom of speech. Under the administration of Clara Sheinbaum, 19 journalists have been assassinated accordingly. Confirmed 14, apparently 19. Adding influencers, adding activists, adding defenders of the environment, activists. Several people have been assassinated. Journalists, activists, communicators, influencers. And they're doing it in a live stream. Like if I was right here, somebody will rush into this door and it will enter and it will shoot on sight. They already tried to enter the premises where I lived, armed men, unidentified, trying to enter the closed premises where I lived. People think that this is fun. People think that this is exactly the same as informing inside of the United States of America on the U.S. borders. We have a total disadvantage. This is a reality, what is happening in Mexico. Another influencer, that a lot of these influencers, it's not confirmed, but a lot of them, they're involved with the organized crime. A lot of them, they're paid off by the organized crime. A lot of them, they're used to money launder a lot of the situations because they are so profoundly interested on fame and on being on social media and having hundreds of thousands of followers that they're willing to do the sacrifice or selling themselves to these criminal groups. And when they comment and they don't follow the rules, they will get rid of them. Or they comment and they are messing with the wrong person, the wrong people, they will get rid of them. This is what happened to this influencer by the name of Cesar, I think it's Cesar Gastelum, yesterday. He was killed on a live stream. And it is horrible what happened to him on a live stream. He was shot and killed during a live stream outside of a restaurant recording content with friends. Authorities have stated that there's an investigation going on. Like always, there's an investigation, and there's an investigation. Like always. This is the actual video of what happened. You will see the influencer that he does videos as delivering as Uber Eats or whatever is the other app. And he used to compete with these other apps and go live and do these kind of situations on live stream, like when it happened to one of the most beautiful influencers that we had in Guadalajara, Jalisco, also that she was killed in her business, shot and killed on a live stream video. These people are vicious, man. What we're going through over here, it is impactful. And just for everybody to know what has happened to every journalist in Mexico, per hypothetical example to myself, everything it is documented. The Fiscal General of the Republic and also authorities in Mexico have reported on these multiple threats and these multiple circumstances and situations which happened to us, threats on social media and so. And there's laws now that it can defend us against these people from foreign countries or inside of our country, threatening our lives and putting our lives at risk. This is what happened to this influencer. It's a minute and 30-some seconds of his live stream when he was live streaming. Out of nowhere, these two guys on a motorcycle come and they shot him in the head. Just as drastic and graphic as it is. And I will put another video of a journalist that 6 or 7 cartel members went into her home, broke into her home, kidnapped her, and then later on she was found dead. Her body was found dead. This is the reality of Mexico. This is why these people need to be designated as terrorists. You're talking about freedom of speech? This is our freedom of speech.
A todos mis hermanos que en esta vida soy afortunado. Que se vaya la verga Uber. Mira,
live stream.
¡Dios! ¡Ey! Vamos a ir al KFC, me tiró la copia. KFC tiró la copia. Literal, KFC.
Vale, va KFC tirando la copia del KFC a recorrer.
Ahí está el sonido de la felicidad. Es festejarlo. ¡No la pobreza, plebe! ¡Es festejar eso! ¡Es festejar el primer viaje! Ahora póngale a comenzar usted con su dedito ahí. El primer viaje. Póngale. Bautizado. Vámonos. Mira, guache.
Ahora se la meto para acá. Te porque te tengo que ir a pie porque a la guachacita está tenía para repartir algo ya.
Vengo por un pedido. Oiga, ya cayó la primera chamba. Oiga, no es.
¿Cómo? No.
10 minutos.
Oiga, nos van a regañar, oiga. ¿Qué podemos hacer ahí, oiga? Oficina, tenemos un retraso ahí de 10 minutos, para que estén bien pendientes.
Reporte ahí, oiga, porque si no... Vámonos, chicos. No, la moto. No, oiga, me sentí bien mal, oiga.
No, esos chavos me dan miedo. Un cascazo esa madera y sí.
Guajiro, ¿te acuerdas cuando nos asaltaron en un camión?
No más de que me cayó.
No.
That's about it. That's how life is in our country with freedom of speech.
No, oiga, me sentí bien mal, oiga.
Let me repeat it again.
Esos chavos me dan miedo. Un cascazo esa madera y sí.
Guajiro, ¿te acuerdas cuando nos asaltaron en un camión?
No más de que me cayó.
No.
And let me put an example of Roxana Huerta, a journalist who was basically informing some irregularities of the government and several other situations. And this is what happened to her in her home. At first, the family that it was in her home thought that these were authorities. But they were not authorities. They were the cartel dressed up as the organized crime. And they came for her, broke into her home, kidnapped her. The president didn't do anything to rescue her immediately. If it was somebody from the government, they would have done it immediately. Later on, her body was found almost recognizable. This is what happened to her in her home. Also, it was recorded on a stream. They broke into her home on a live stream, not caring about who was recording and who was not. They just broke in deliberately, not caring about anything. It is a lawlessness country. Every crime is immune. Let me show you again the video so you can actually understand. She was recording the people that they were about to murder her. And what did the government did? Nothing is under investigation. That's what they say. Imagine having your family inside of your home and you see these armed men breaking into your home. Imagine the children, imagine the husband, imagine your family how traumatic this is. And then later on, thinking I will never see my wife or I will never see the husband. Well, I will never see my children again. And if you go to what I just shown you, the influencer that just got assassinated on a live stream, the influencer got assassinated. This was yesterday.
Cascas esa marega y sí.
Guajiro, ¿te acuerdas cuando nos asaltaron en un camión?
No más cerca que me cayó.
No.
That's about it. I will read for you a list. According to Article 11, at least 14 journalists have been documented and murdered during the current administration of Claudia Sheinbaum. Mauricio Cruz Solis, location Uruapan, Michoacán. He was assassinated minutes after interviewing the mayor of Uruapan during a live broadcast, October 29, 2024. Cayetano de Jesus Guerrero, a journalist assassinated in the state of Mexico, journalist for Global Mexico. He was received death threats several days before his murder and had requested protection. Cristian Uriel Martinez Zavala, killed March 2nd, 2025 in Guanajuato. Contributor to El Sinaloense and Reporte Silao. Authorities have not officially determined the motive. Raúl Irán Villarreal Belmont, killed March 13, 2025, location Guanajuato. Lawyer and civic activist and director of Observatorio Ciudadano San Luis de la Paz. He was kidnapped before his body was discovered. Investigators continue examining whether his was public advocacy and communication work were connected to the crime. Jose Carlos González Herrera, journalist, May 15, 2025, location Guerrero. Director of Guerrero Opinión Ciudadana. Authorities have not established a definitive motive. Ángel Sevilla, journalist, date July 8, 2025, location Sonora. Assassinated with Noticias 644. The motive remains under investigation. Ronaldo Paz Pedro, journalist, July 9th, 2025, Guerrero. Director of Noti Express Pedro, he had live streamed a public safety complaint shortly before being murdered. Authorities continue investigating whether the attack was connected to his reporting. Miguel Ángel Beltrán Martínez, journalist, October 25, 2025, location Durango. Independent journalist whose body was discovered after he disappeared. Status, the investigation remains ongoing. Carlos Leonardo Ramirez Castro, Carlos Castro, better known, journalist, assassinated January 8, 2026, location Veracruz. Crime reporter specializing in organized crime and public security. His reporting remains one of the principal investigative lines. Juan David Gámez, killed, journalist, March 18, 2026, location Nuevo León. Director of Táctica SS, he regularly covered organized crime, corruption, and law enforcement. Authorities have not reached a judicial conclusion. Roxana Berenice Guzmán Ramirez, the video that I just shown you, kidnapped, killed, journalist, founder of Pulso Informativo del Suroeste. She was abducted from her home before being murdered. Authorities continue investigating possibly organized crime involvement. Luis Ángel López Valdés, journalist, killed June 11, 2026, location Veracruz, based in Poza Rica, Veracruz. He was murdered despite having received government protection measures. Manuel Alejandro Moreno Serna, better known as Alex Serna, journalist, killed, environmental journalist. Authorities have not determined whether his environmental reporting was connected to his murder. Francisco Alejandro Leiva Aguilar, killed, journalist. July 22nd, 2026, in Oaxaca, political columnist and former director of Oaxaca State Broadcasting System. The investigation remains ongoing. It doesn't end there. Not only they're killing journalists, but also human rights defenders. These are the list. According to Article 19, documented murders of members of search collectives, the ones that we have been reporting, multiple mass graves and people that they have searching for their loved ones because the cartel and the organized crime buries them in random rural areas. Magdaleno Perez Santos, activist, searching for a missing family member, status possible retaliation connected to his search activities, killed. Teresa Gonzalez Murillo, killed. Member of search collective status, authorities continue investigating. Maria del Carmen Morales, killed. Mother of searching for missing loved one, she was murdered together with her son. Jose Gabriel Hernandez Tovar, killed. Family member activist participating in search efforts. Roberto Hernandez, search activist seeking a missing relative, also killed. Aida Karina Juarez Jacobo, activist, killed. Mother searching for her missing daughter. She was abducted before being found dead. Yerli Yaritza Perez, search activist, killed, and human rights defender. In every of these cases, organizations have urged authorities to investigate whether their work searching for missing persons played a role in their crimes. Of course, that it did. And of course, the organized crime, the cartel, and the corrupt government that is involved. Not only activists and journalists and communicators are being assassinated in Mexico for speaking against corruption, organized crime, and abuse of power, but also environmental defenders. The Mexican Center of Environmental Law, better known as SEMDA, documented 10 environmental defenders murdered during 2025. Their work primarily involved protecting forests, water resources, indigenous lands, biodiversity, community territories. Roberto Chavez Bedoya, location in Michoacan. He was killed. Community leader defending forest, water resources in communal land. Authorities continue to investigating whether organized crime and land conflicts motivated the killing. Social media influencers killed. The one that it was also really viral on social media was Valeria Marquez, a beautiful beauty influencer, entrepreneur and TikTok creator. She was shot and killed while live streaming from her beauty salon. Federal authorities later on linked her to a criminal organization with Jalisco New Generation, and criminal proceedings are still remaining ongoing. And the one that I just shown you, Cesar Gastelum, he was killed in a live stream outside of a KFC on site.
No, oiga, me sentí bien mal, güey. No, eso chalo, me da miedo.
Un cascazo esa marega y sí.
Guajiro, ¿te acuerdas cuando nos asaltaron en un camión?
No más él que me cayó.
No.
The reality of communicating in our country of Mexico, it is getting aggravating by the day. Now they have committed to a law that is law censorship in Mexico. And this is what it's talking about. The law has been converted and has been passed in Congress. It says the so-called censorship law refers to the legislation that critics argue could restrict freedom of expression by giving the government broader authority to regulate, remove, or sanction certain forms of speech, media content, or digital communications. Supporters of the law argue that its purpose is to address issues such as misinformation, hate speech, or the regulation of telecommunications, while opponents contend that some of its prohibitions could be used to limit freedom of speech, freedom of press freedom, censor criticism, or discourage public debate. Of course, absolutely, that is what a socialist country does. Whether the law ultimately results in censorship depends on how it is interpreted, enforced, and reviewed by the courts. So not only in Mexico, they're assassinating journalists, they're assassinating environmental activists, they're assassinating people that they're searching in these collective groups and search groups, and they're assassinating influencers. But also on top of that, in the impunity that is being input in our country, you have the other source that is, we are going to put a law to restrict more your freedom of speech, to make sure that we have the control of what you're speaking, and what you are speaking, it is legitimate, and what we say that you are saying, it is legitimate, and that you don't misinform about what we are doing and the commutes that we are doing, and ultimately the crimes that we are doing. That is what is happening in Mexico. President Trump has referred to the president of Mexico as a beautiful lady that is afraid for the cartels. I will be bold to say, I don't know why he refers to her like that. And I don't know why he refers also to Delcy Rodriguez as a good lady in Venezuela, when these two individuals have been the one persecuting journalists, persecuting activists, and not resolving the crimes with transparency, and ultimately, not only with transparency, with all the weight of the law. This is continuing in Mexico. It is not a joke. It is a reality. And the most concern that I say to my colleagues that they work in the United States borders on the U.S. side, fight for this to not happen in your country. You are going through censorship. Only that, through social media platforms and persecution of progressive mercenary liberals. But when it comes to this, to activists, to public speakers, like what happened to Charlie Kirk, and the threats that is happening to public speakers that speak against the progressive mercenary liberal agenda, you will have crimes of impunity like we're having right now. And it will grow. And if you do not do anything about it, it will grow into a point that it becomes a law, like they are trying to implement in Mexico, censorship law. That is a reality. They're trying to censor freedom of speech, whether it is wrong, whether it is right. It is their right. Their constitutional right, Article 6 and 7 of the Constitution of Mexico, gives you the freedom of speech. It is somebody else's to contest and to also have constructive criticism of your information, of your informative reports. But you cannot contract and you cannot take away the freedom of speech by implementing a law that tells somebody this is what you need to inform and this only. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for your endless support. And thank you for your continuous prayers into our work. Sadly, another influencer was assassinated today publicly in a live stream, not caring about who sees them and who basically watches them. Meanwhile, they're doing this horrible crime. This influencer had more than 600,000 followers in the social media, more than 500,000 followers. And they did not even care if they did it publicly in front of everybody. The left that is going to justify that these people were surrounding themselves with the organized crime and the cartel. That's the justification for killing somebody. Stay safe. And like we always say, God's plan, it is our mission.